Dragonoid Ultra, one of the most highly anticipated releases of the Wave 3 lineup. With a flat rolling path from his tail, it feels pretty satisfying when you get him to roll straight. Watching him open, on the other hand, has been anything but satisfying. Hey everyone, today I'm going to be taking a look at what causes this strange phenomenon to occur. First, we're going to need to take a look into how Drago Ultra is designed. The magnet is located in this back piece here that folds up, operating on a hinge-type mechanism. The spring here is very strong, making the back piece fall out very quickly. Because of this, people believe the strong spring is the sole reason Drago Ultra often features BakuCore. As for why Drago Ultra has such a strong spring, well, I can't say for sure for myself, but from what I've noticed very often for my test opens, it always stands upright. Or at least attempts to do so. Even when rolled backwards, it still finds its way upright. That's in contrast to most Ultras, which use momentum to propel themselves upright. The only other Bakugan that finds itself standing upright without any momentum is Dragonoid, whose multi-hinge tail mechanisms are strong enough to consistently flip and stick the landing. Trucks and Pegatrix are close, only needing a very little amount of momentum to stand upright. Considering how far and up the back piece rotates from the field as Drago transforms, I think having any sort of weaker spring would only make him land on his knees and fall on his head, even if the springs on the legs were made stronger to push him out like other spring-based Ultras. Being momentum-based like other Ultras wouldn't work with how the legs fold out and how high up the back piece ends up being off from the ground. In other words, not enough force to stand up. Some would say, oh no, the strong spring must be a defect, but I feel that it was intentional for a spring to be this strong just for the sole purpose of getting it to stand upright. And also that wouldn't really make sense if pretty much every Drago Ultra has that much tension in spring to begin with, and standing upright is the clear intention behind it. But I think there's something else at play here. To better understand what I mean, I'm going to do a few test rolls. Interesting thing to note is that whether Drago keeps the core is usually dependent on where the magnet hits. When rolled in its intended direction, the core typically stays where the magnet hits closer to the bottom half facing you. When rolled backwards, the opposite is true. The core stays where the magnet hits the half facing the blade. Whether the magnet lands off-center doesn't seem to make much of a difference. Sometimes that's not the case, but that's typically what will happen when it doesn't open right away. I think what causes Drago to not keep its core comes from how the magnet piece also unclicks itself. Think of it like taking a Bakugan off a metal surface. One way to do that is like peeling it off, where the Bakugan can be curled out and detaches the magnet as the metal surface stays put. Using a strong spring, that's what I think the back piece is doing to itself here. Tension in the spring pushes Drago up and away from the surface, dragging the back piece magnet out with it. Why I think this happens is because the back piece is very smooth. You can run a thumb along the magnet to the arrow, and there isn't much of a flap on that end of the magnet space. And if you place a core on the magnet and press down lightly on the edge, it wobbles and slides off fairly easily. It's possible to do this with other Bakugan, but because they're flat in magnet space, it's not entirely to the same extent. With some of them, you'd have to press a bit harder. Some other Ultras have a similar smoothness on their magnet space, but there are usually other parts or mechanisms that will keep the core intact. It's also possible for some Bakugan Ultras, mainly the hinge-based ones, to lose their core almost like Drago does. However, this usually involves the Bakugan being rolled in a certain way and or at a fast enough speed, so it's not really much of an issue for many of them in actual gameplay. Panzer is probably the only one I've found so far to come close with consistently not keeping cores. This involves the magnet connecting at a specific point on the back of the core, in which it would press between the field and the Bakugan itself. It will cause the core to unclick as if it were being pinched off. So I'll follow those background detached cores. That's kind of what I think happens with Drago as well. Now, there's a popular belief going around where the wings are what push the core off. However, from what I've tested, the springs on the wings are too weak to actually do that. And especially so when the core is firmly attached. The wings definitely rise up a bit, but it's not enough for a core to get pushed out from under. For that reason, I'm going to say that the wings have nothing to do with Yeeting cores. To put this to the test, I'll do some super slow-mo opens and see how the core detaches. So, looks like my guess on the back piece being smooth was right on the money, but I think I found what causes the actual yeeting of the core. Contrary to popular belief, it's the head that causes cores to be thrown. Before I explain why that's the case, I'm going to do a run back on what happens beforehand. So, the spring on the back piece is already very strong enough to get Drago to stand upright by the force of it alone. That, along with the smoothness of the back piece, can make the core slip off and unclick itself. But there's also the impact of the back piece and the rest of the body that gives in a force to unclick cores. Much like a catapult, the sudden stop of the back piece loosens the core off by force as it continues to fly at about the same speed that it came rising up at. If Drago didn't open immediately when the magnet connects, or if a core is placed on it without rolling, this is what would yeet the core. And it happens as a result of the back piece unfolding quickly. I didn't bring that point up right away because with those factors alone, the core would just fall back into place like it lost magnetism and or it didn't get picked up. That's what typically will happen when it's being rolled and opened as intended. The magnet connects facing down, and the factors mentioned before would just leave the core where it is because it got sent downward. So what causes the cores to get flung away? That's where the head comes in. You see, as the core loses magnetism and falls back to the ground, the head is also rising up with the rest of the body. Right as it's falling, the head hits the edge of the core and pushes it out from underneath. Either the back of the head or the horn taps the edge, nudging the core away. And because of how fast Drago's transformation propels it upright, momentum gets transferred to the core, and it just gets sent flying. In short, the head scoops the core from underneath. Not that I really know how physics works, but that's the best I can explain it. And again, that's all dependent on where on the core the magnet hits from. If the core gets detached far enough from the body, the head won't even make contact to yeet it. So in conclusion, it's not just the spring alone. There's the smoothness of the back piece, the impact of the back piece on the rest of the body, the core slips off, unpeels itself, and the core loses magnetism because of it. Then the head sometimes hits the edge of the core, velocity sends the core flying, all so that it can perfectly stand upright. So long story short, Drago Ultra's design is just straight up flawed. I don't really know what more I could explain on that. The best way to roll Drago Ultra so as to not yeet cores would be to start with the magnet or the edge of the wing joints facing down. It should rest neutral here. With a normal straight roll from a little over 2 card distances away, you should be able to keep cores. If you're still yeeting cores, try from a little farther back or from that same distance again, but with the back placed on a different point in its rotation. Rolling with the arrow backwards from the same spot might work too, though maybe not as well. The goal in the end is to land the magnet on a spot where the core will be closer to the head in relation to the far end of the back piece. Attempting to deviate from its intended rolling path is very risky thanks in part to the physics behind its mechanisms. In other news, go look at the Hyper. Apparently that one's better at holding cores or something. Until next time, see ya!